All righty, we are live. Go ahead and share it
All right.
to your
Okay.
personal pages.
All right. Let's see what we got going on here.
You know
Yeah.
how to do it, Barry?
I've done it once or twice. I know how to read the directions. Be like, share. I'd be like, okay, this is what I need to do. I'm talking all that junk now. Today I can't. Now I'm like, how do you do this again? Here we go.
Uh-uh. Okay.
Do, 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 do.
All righty. Hello, Erica and Barry.
What's happening?
Hey, how y'all doing?
I'm doing amazing. How about yourself?
I can't complain. Cannot complain.
Well, you
How's
could
y'all?
complain, but please don't. It ain't gonna do you no good.
I'm not gonna complain. How was y'all's day today?
It was good. It's good.
It was good.
Got
Now, mine
lots
was.
of rest today.
You said you got lots of rest.
I didn't have such a good night's sleep last night. I had to take care of my pup. She wasn't feeling so well. So I was
Uh-oh.
up and down like with a newborn baby.
What's wrong with the
Oh,
pup?
I've been there before.
But after I got her settled this morning, then I laid back down and then I felt like I got, plenty of rest. So
Gotcha.
did what I had to do.
Well, that's good. That's good. Now, as far as me, man, work as usual. I told you this remote learning. I absolutely love it. I'm grateful, but it's a lot of work. It is a lot because when you're in the classroom, you can actually, it's a lot of activities you can kind of fill space with. But no,
Yes.
you can fill space like, hey, I'm gonna get a group over here. You guys get on the computer.
Right.
It could be some peer learning. You guys, but no, what this way is like it's you all day. It's like, all right. So, but I'm enjoying it though.
So you know what I used to do?
What's that?
I used to give them when I was teaching, I would give them an activity. Okay. And then that was my time to grade papers, upload grades. So I was doing like 4 or 5 things at
Right.
one time. I imagine when you're doing the virtual thing, excuse me, you can't necessarily do that.
No.
I was a culinary arts teacher, so while they were doing their cooking in the kitchen, I'm working on lesson plans
Right.
for what I'm saying, the next week or whatever. So you can multitask like that when you're
Yeah.
in the classroom.
It's remote learning. No, it's like 24/7. I'm actually
Yeah,
getting emails as we're talking. I got emails like, "Hey, Mr. Cage, did you?" I'm like, "Man, if you don't leave me alone, right now."
right, right. All right, guys. What is first of all, hey, everybody. Welcome to the What's Love podcast. I'm Kedra.
I'm
That
very.
this is
Erica.
And we are the What's Love podcast crew. Thank you for joining us today. We are here every Tuesday at 6:30. Guess what, guys?
What's up?
Not only are we now broadcasting in the What's Love podcast group, but we're also live broadcasting on YouTube as well.
It's live on YouTube.
Okay.
Yes, we're live on YouTube right now. So if you go to our YouTube page, I'm gonna post that in a minute. If you go to our YouTube page, go to
Okay.
What's Love Podcast and YouTube, then you'll see us live broadcasting right now. Isn't that cool?
That is cool. What's up?
I love technology. Love
Yeah,
technology.
man.
All right. If you are joining us tonight, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Okay. And we just want you to, in the comments, leave your name and let us know where you are joining us from. So we're all in Jacksonville right now. So
Yeah.
if we weren't hosting, then we would put in the comments, I'm Kedra. Watching from Jacksonville. I'm Barry. I'm watching from Jacksonville. Erica watching from Jacksonville. So leave us in the comments who you are, where you're calling from, or not where you're calling from, where you are watching from, because it's always fun to see like where everybody is.
Right.
Like where they're from. Super
Okay.
cool. Okay, guys. Let's get to business.
Okay.
What's your hey St. Augustine? Hey Maria and St. Augustine. What is your affirmation for the day?
Ladies first. Go, Erica.
All right. So my affirmation is I am a part of nature.
Oh, so you are a part of nature. That's dope.
Yes.
Uh, yes.
Okay.
Mine is I am the example that I'm looking for. So,
Very nice.
Okay. That's good. I had mine and I forgot it.
okay.
Hold on, give me a second. Cause it's gonna
Absolutely.
like I see it in my head.
The stuff
I
that you're
don't see
talking.
it in my head. So I'm just gonna say I was trying to see it in my head. And I was walking before we got started, I was walking Bentley and I was like, this is my affirmation, this is what I'm gonna say, and this is how
Okay.
I'm gonna allude to it. But then I just totally forgot it. So
It's all good. It's
um
all good.
I'm going to say that my affirmation for today is you don't have to be busy to be productive.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Okay.
Amen. And amen.
Resting is productive energy.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
The creator rested
Come on, preach.
on the seventh day.
Preach.
I have been to seminary. No,
Right. Let the church say amen.
that's right. The creator rested on the seventh day. So resting is still productive. Okay. That's my affirmation for the
Yes.
day. All right.
Amen.
Um, oh my goodness. I should have wrote it down. I had something that I wanted to kind of like tackle first before we got started with all of this because I thought it was like very, very good. But okay, maybe it'll come back to me. So if you guys are in our What's Love group on Facebook, I posted a few things and gotten a few discussions going or whatever. And one of the things that I posted, it was either yesterday or today, about dating multiple people,
Oh
right?
yeah, I saw that.
At one
Okay. Okay. I didn't see it. What's that about? Dating
dating
multiple
multiple
people.
people at one time. Oh, so there's two things that were really really good. Dating multiple people. I know. Okay. Okay.
Let's get it together. Let's focus in. Let's go.
So actually, let's hold off on dating multiple people at one time, okay?
Okay.
Okay, because this was like this. I've kind of been like ever since I saw this and I posted it and been thinking about it. I've been contemplating on this all day. Like wow, just like really realizing um just going back and realizing a few things. So I posted something about it was this lady on social media,
Okay.
and her she has two children, right? Her I think an 8-year old and a 12-year old, 5-year old and 12-year old, I can't remember. But anyway, the 12-year old said something or did something to hurt the younger one's feelings, right? And so the 12-year old got in trouble. Okay. And so the younger one, which is the 12-year old, it was a boy, and the younger one, let's say 8, is a girl.
It was
Right?
5.
5,
5-year-old.
okay.
Yeah.
5 was a girl. And so when the has to who is that? Who said Keith has become a whole Rastafarian, right?
You see it. Right.
Look, I like them, and I'm like, because I've been going back and forth. Don't want to keep my see how easily I get distracted. I've been going back and forth. Like, do I want to lock up? I tried to lock once before, and I took them all out, and I was just like, no. And then I've been thinking about locking up again. So I was like, let's put these little faux locks in. We ain't got nothing to do, send them in the house. So I did my hair, and so I'm like, okay, I think I'm ready for the commitment because locks are a commitment. Okay,
I don't
so
know, Keidra. I don't know if you're ready for a commitment. You know you got commitment issues. I don't know about that.
that's a whole other conversation. Okay, so let's stay with this conversation. Okay, so anyway, so the 12-year-old got in trouble, and the younger one, the 5-year-old, I guess she said Melissa, your wife said that. So the 12-year-old got in trouble, and the 5-year-old felt bad for the 12-year-old that was in trouble, and she was gonna write a note apologizing to the 12-year-old, right?
Okay.
And the mom stopped her, was like, no, don't do that. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? Because basically, in essence, you're not responsible for how he treated you. He needs to apologize. You know what I'm saying? And it's okay to be hurt by it and for him to get chastised for it. You know what I'm saying? So my post was, on the original post, people were talking about, oh, I stand the mom, when we have emotionally intelligent parents, yada, yada, yada. And so I was like, wow. And I reposted and I said, how many of us have not been taught emotional intelligence as children? Primarily because our parents didn't have the emotional awareness or emotional intelligence. But how many of us have been taught, we're not taught that emotional intelligence and brought that into our adulthood, and it has affected our relationships? And then in the comments, I wrote that, like, I started thinking, I was like, well, I see how I brought that into my adulthood and into my adult relationships, because the relationship that I had with my brother when we were growing up, I'm older, he's younger, but he was so mean to me all the time. And my parents did nothing. He was so mean. It was over stuff so simple as, he wanted to sit in this, we had this like chair, it's my dad's chair, but it sat to the TV. He wanted to sit in the chair, and if I was in the chair, he would literally argue with me and fight me to sit in the chair, right? Or if I had the remote control, then he would literally like fight with me to gain control of the remote control. Wow. Even in saying it out loud, to gain control. You know what I'm saying? And
you didn't fight back, Keidra? You didn't stand up for yourself?
Come on now. Of course I fought back I stood up for myself, but the thing is that, so he would do this when my parents were not around, right? Okay. Leave the house, maybe go to the store, go to work or whatever, church, whatever. And then when they came back and I told them, this would happen, or he would make me scared to tell my parents. Or if I did tell my parents, then they would be like, oh, Andre, they would just like dismiss it. You know what I'm saying? Wouldn't really, discipline him or sit us down and be like, well, what happened? They would kind of just be like, oh, Andre, stop that. Why are you doing that? Stop that. And then keep on going. You know what I'm saying? And so that energy I brought to adult relationships.
Okay.
And where, they would say, Keidra, be nice to your brother. So it was my fault, right? That he acted that way towards me. And so I can see in instances where I have brought that to my relationships where, because it didn't work out, I thought it was my fault. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Because maybe I said the wrong thing, and I remember, like, vividly remember crying a few times. Why can't I just be perfect? You know what I'm saying? Why am I like this? Why am I like that? Yada, yada, yada. Thinking that it's my fault that they didn't stay, or it's my fault that they didn't choose to work things out, or it's my fault that, I said the wrong thing. I did the wrong thing. I wasn't perfect enough, Gotcha. And it just made me think, like, how many people bring that to adult relationship. Even just like, as far as like a week or so ago, I had to catch myself and with young, attractive, and succeful,
right.
I had to be like, dang, if I hadn't have said that. And then I was like, no.
I don't know. Like, I understand exactly what you're saying. But when you use the example about your relationships, by no means am I saying is it your fault. But I'm always one who's reflective, and I'm not saying, part of me feels like, well, is there something that we brought to the situation? Now, in some cases, it's just not a good match. So let's be clear with that. It's not a good fit.
Right.
But in some cases, in certain situations, I do believe there may be elements that we can reflect back and be like, I could have done that different. Like, even my lack of emotional intelligence may have brought some things on. So never am I saying, hey, we are the blame, but I do believe that there are some responsibilities, specifically as it relates to men and women relationship. With your younger brother in that situation, I'm not really speaking directly to that, but more so to, like, when we're dating people, we're in marriages, there are pieces of it that I feel like, that we bring to the table.
What I'm saying is this, right?
Okay.
I'm not responsible for someone else's actions. I'm not
No,
responsible for
absolutely not.
someone else's decisions. You know what I'm saying? Now, because I'm sure that in your 20 plus marriage, there have been some things that you have said to Melissa that are not favorable. And I'm sure that there have been some things that Melissa has said to you that are not favorable. But yet you two still have chose to stay together. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, again, I'm not, even though I may have said this or said that, right? I'm still not responsible for someone else's decisions or actions. You paused up on us, Barry. Is he
I
paused
know
on you?
Yeah.
it is pause. I'm thinking about maybe I should log out
Hold
and
on,
log
Barry.
back in.
Hold on. We're trying to bring you back, Barry. Can you hear us, Barry? Oh, we lost Barry. All right.
Uh-oh.
Until Barry comes back to us, um, Erica, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree with you. I think in that specific example with the post, I definitely think the mom did the right thing, because I think that's a good thing to teach daughters, especially, is
Yes,
that the
daughters and
male's
sons.
actions is not the consequences for their actions is not your fault. And I've worked with a lot of young people, but I've also worked with adults. I used to work in a domestic violence shelter, and we talked a lot about power and control, and those things. A lot of those times when people are in relationships that include emotional abuse, physical abuse, things like that, is because the man has not, or has this idea that what he does, even if he gets the consequences, he knows that the woman is going to take responsibility, even though he was the one responsible for the action, and
That's what
take
I'm
it back
saying.
or forgive him or feel like it's her fault. And that's where that whole power and control wheel comes into play.
Yeah,
So we got to do a better job of teaching our daughters what is acceptable, what's not acceptable. Yes, you don't feel good. The 5-year-old one, she was 5, but it's good to teach her at 5. No, this is what he did wrong. Here are the consequences. This is the punishment for his actions. He shouldn't have treated you that way. And I
yeah,
think that is a good time to teach that lesson. It's understandable that she was upset because her brother got in trouble, but it's also understandable that the mom did not, or stopped her from writing a letter to him apologizing, because she didn't do anything to deserve how he was treating her if he got in trouble for it.
right.
And I think, like I said, as adults, you can easily make that connection when people enter into toxic relationships. Like I said, where there's emotional abuse, mental abuse. It doesn't even always have to be physical, but it's where the man feels the need to assert control over a woman.
Right. Yes.
Let's be clear.
Exactly.
Let's be clear. Like that operates both ways now. So I
Oh,
understand.
absolutely. You're right. It does. I was speaking from the experience of working with, as a counselor and working in a domestic violence shelter and things like that. No, it definitely does work both ways.
Right. Because you can even see in certain cases, I've seen guys in relationships where they will accept the accountability and allow themselves to be somewhat manipulated,
Oh yeah.
just to control, like, okay, you're not right, you didn't do this right, this wasn't to perfection, especially when they have a strong desire to please that woman, so they'll use that against them. And then even the thing about, like I said, manipulating them, making them feel like there's certain things that don't even exist. What's the word for it? Gaslighting. And it's just like,
Yes.
well,
Yep.
there's not even an actual issue, but you're making him feel and think. So yeah, man, all of that manipulation. I'm trying to find a different word, but I've seen it. And even in Melissa and our relationship, we've actually dealt with it not unknowingly. And and I guess in some cases, and when we were immature about it, knowingly, you just like, okay, I'm gonna operate in this space being young and dumb and immature until you actually develop those emotional skills and tools to understand, like, no, I need to accept responsibility for my own actions. and not like you said, feel obligated because you made a decision or you did something wrong.
Right.
So, mm.
I
No,
had
yeah,
DJ Twitter.
I
yeah.
led a I led a
Okay.
workshop back in December, and there was fathers in there, and I had two in particular that were speaking basically what you were saying, Barry, where they were like, no matter what I do, it's not good enough.
Right.
And that conversation kind of, and I allowed them the space to express themselves. You know, it was created a safe space. I was the only woman in the room, but gave the men an opportunity to let some things out and do some venting. And that was something that came up for two particular men. But so what that led to was doing an exercise where I had them write down their strengths.
Okay.
And one of the men said, what happens when people have told you you're no good all your life? What am I supposed to write? You know what I mean? And so that's what I mean when I say I really do understand that it does go both ways.
You like what you
Because
really do.
it's like when you're no good, you done this, you're not going to be the, they get cussed out, they get put on child support, they're working 2 or 3 jobs, and it becomes overwhelming. But yet they want to spend time with their kids and they want to do the best that they can. And the women that they're with continuously like push them down, because they're expecting something greater than what they may not have the capacity to give. But the women that they're with are not accepting their best either.
Gotcha.
Let me ask you something. Did I hear you say that in this workshop you were having them write their strengths and their weaknesses?
No, just strengths.
Just strengths?
Yeah.
I don't know how. I was just having this conversation with somebody the other day. I don't like the word strengths and weaknesses or maybe not so. Maybe I just don't like weaknesses.
I didn't have to do weaknesses, just strengths.
Okay, strengths may be okay, but it's just a sidebar. I feel that like every aspect of yourself is not going to show up the same. And just because it doesn't show up as prevalent as another aspect, does that negate it as a weakness?
It could be an area of opportunity.
As a matter of fact, and I'm tempted to go grab it. I have a book because y'all know I have like a mini library in my house. But in the introduction to this book, it basically says in our culture, we spend more time focusing on weaknesses than we do strengths. And we should focus more on our strengths. If we are good at, we should do what we can to do better at those things that we are good at, as opposed to shifting our focus to the things we're weak on, trying to get them up to where the level of our strengths, which then we kind of neglect the strengths, and it creates this really bad imbalance. I'm gonna grab it real quick because I think it's a good book. Hold on a second.
What you gonna talk about that as well, Gary V. Just in terms of like entrepreneurship and levels of success, like spending more time on the areas of that we're strong in, like leverage those things. Because we spend a lot of time trying to develop areas that you may not innately be good at. That those aren't your like you said, your strengths. So why not identify what you're good at, leverage those things, and allow those things to catapult your success. So I get it, man. Spending too much time in maybe a deficit mindset. It's like, oh, I need to develop this. I'm not good at that. That energy alone isn't one that's conducive for creativity and success. If you're constantly looking at what you're not good at.
Here's another one.
So we had somebody say, and I'm sorry, we can't see unless you give the streaming service your permission to see your name. We can't see your name. So we have a Facebook user that says, excuse me, I'm a true believer that we learn what normal relationships look like from what we see growing up, from looking at either parents, grandparents, etc. Subconsciously, we also have ingrained beliefs from what people have told us, and unfortunately, we have to correct that. X of core belief: I'm not lovable.
Gotcha.
Core beliefs: I'm not lovable. I can't do anything right. So I think that we can be informed many different ways, whether it's through parents, grandparents, in our formative years, grandparents,
Right.
siblings, cousins, whoever we are around and interacting with. I think that we can be subconsciously informed of all of that, you know, of during that time, just by whoever is we interact with, you know. So okay. Okay.
Yes.
The first one last week we talked about oh my goodness, y'all. We're not even what 30 minutes in, and Bentley is already, we just came from outside and Bentley is already in my face looking at me like, look girl, I'm ready to go outside. Like, dude, chill out.
Right.
Go get your bone.
You need to pay your man more attention.
Right, you would think he was my man, right?
Right. Right. Right.
Bye Bentley, go get your bone. So last week we talked about we started talking about submission. We had a good conversation on submission.
Right.
And I was scrolling through social media. I get a lot of ideas just from scrolling through social media and seeing like what other people comment and post and stuff like that. So I was scrolling through social media and I forgot the exact post that I saw or what the exact comment or anything about that was.
Okay.
But it made me think about, or maybe it had something to do with it. I can't remember quite honestly. But anyway, this is where I came up and it made me recall our conversation that we had last week. And I was like, that's a good point, because it was talking about submission. I said, that's a good point. Do women have to feel obligated? Wives have to feel obligated to having sex with their husband if they don't want to, or when they don't want to? Because, I've heard plenty of times, the older generation, grandmothers, aunties, women in the church say, don't hold out sex from your man. Whatever you do, don't not have sex with your husband. Even if you mad, have sex with your husband. So are women obligated to be submissive to their husband in that way and have sex with them when they don't want to? I think this is an important aspect of submission, because I just envision a woman just laying there, Miss Seeley.
That's so awful. Like that's the image you get.
It is.
Of course, you're gonna have a problem with it if you look at it like that. But go ahead.
But let's look deeper into Miss Seeley, okay? Because she
Hold
didn't
up.
want to have sex with
That's
Miss.
our reference. That's our reference point. Unhealthy marriage. Like that was dysfunctional.
Even if it is, but that's. I'm trying to give a visual here, okay?
That's the best visual. But
Okay,
go
well,
ahead.
you give another visual then.
I mean, let's just talk about a healthy relationship. Let's a healthy relationship. And the question is, like, do you feel like a woman should have to submit to having sex with her husband when he wants it to? Like, we ain't got to go to this, because nobody on here is going to say, even the men, like, if I felt like when I wanted sex and Melissa felt like she was Miss Seeley, I don't even want that for her.
What I was drawing from Miss Seeley is I envision a woman take out the unhealthy aspect of the relationship. Okay, what I was in using that example is because I see a woman not wanting to engage in sex with her husband, whether it's a healthy relationship or unhealthy relationship, whatever, right? And laying there and being like, I could have had a V8 instead. Not because, it was bad sex, but because that just, maybe they were in an argument. You know what I'm saying? She ain't feeling him. She wanted to have sex, but he wanted to have sex.
So what I'm hearing you say, and correct me if I'm hearing you wrong, is you're asking, when you don't want to do something, do you still do it?
With your husband.
Right, with your husband. So my question would be, I would pose that right back to you. So as a husband, the things that you need from me, do I not do them because I don't feel like it? Whatever it is, ain't got to be sex. Whatever your love language is, do I not do them because I don't feel like it?
I don't know. I'm not married. Do you not do them because
Oh, you in a relation. You've been in a relationship before. Like,
it's different? No, this
okay,
is
it's different. Okay, it's different. All right.
you know what I'm
So,
saying. You my boyfriend, then nigga, I ain't gonna have sex with you if I don't want to. You know what I'm
okay,
saying? But I'm saying husband and wife
husband.
relationship, okay?
Right.
Because again, I've heard the elders tell women don't withhold sex from your man, no matter
So,
how you feel.
I got a bunch to say about this. So I'm gonna let Erica jump in there. I'm let you jump in there, Erica.
Oh, I want to hear what you have to
You
say
want?
because you got it. I like your response to the initial question, so I'll jump in after you. How
Okay.
about that?
All right. So, um, the answer is, you asking me, do I think? I think yes, we should, meaning husband and wives should submit and do the things that we do not feel like doing in a relationship. Now it has to be healthy. I'm not talking about anything unhealthy where you're really violating one another and it's going against some type of moral or ethical code. But there are times when you do not feel like expressing there are times that you do not feel like expressing your partner's love language. And if you created a habit of like, yo, I just don't feel like it, that is a slippery slope to destruction for that relationship. It's like, so even if it's not sex, if it's just like, hey, I like when he comes home and we spend, time talking about the day. And you come home, you're like, well, I don't feel like talking. I'd rather watch the game. All right. She needed that quality time to reconnect,
Mm-hmm.
engage in one another. And you like, I would rather watch the game. I would rather have a beer and watch the game, or I'd rather go have a drink with my coworkers after work. Um, I know certain women who their love language is deeds. So they like for their husband to do things. They're like, hey, cut the grass, make sure our home is taken care of. And if he like, yo, I don't feel like that. That's just not what I want to do. And he's not taking care. That is that to her is indicating that you're not loving me because that's how I receive love. So now, and as it relates to your question, sex, if I'm saying I need to be connected with you, in this way. And you're saying, well, nah, I just don't feel like it, and I can understand that some. So let's give the context. Like, I'm not just saying 365 days, you got to do whatever I say. And I'm not even approaching it like that. But what I am saying is more often than not, if your husband is asking to be connected with you in that way, I feel it is our obligation to meet that need and vice versa. I feel like, yo, like if my wife is saying, hey, I need this from you, I'm telling. So, and then I know people get upset and kind of pissed off when you say, well, you go get it from somebody else. But I mean, let's keep it 100. I mean, if I'm asking you, let's just talk about conversation, just healthy
Right.
conversation between a man and a woman. I've seen where women will literally like start another relationship with a guy just through conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted somebody to talk to. I
Right.
literally wanted somebody to talk to and listen to. So I think that holds true. The same with sex. You're like, yo, I want to be physically connected with her, and you're like, nah, I ain't got it for you, boss. So what is he supposed to do if that's the habit and the culture that you all created in your relationship? Like, okay, I have sexual needs, and you're like, I can't meet it. Now, granted, if there's some things that she's needing from him, all that plays a part. Like I've seen in relationships where he's trying to have sex and she's like, well, let me give a scenario. Like if she comes home from work and he happens to be there first and the house is a mess, and she's the type of woman that's like, yo, my house is a mess. I'm not really feeling, I'm not feeling sexual. Like it's hard for her to focus. I'm like, well, as a dude, I'm like, well, let me tighten up this house. Let me get the dishes out this sink so that when she get here, she's not distracted by these other things. So I do think it's a partnership that we create, and I like what Tony's saying. The communication, I mean, it's extremely
Yeah.
essential. Like, so we need to communicate all of that stuff. But again, the answer to your question is like it's a whole bunch of different dynamics that play a part of it. But the answer is, I believe we, meaning husband and wives, should
Right.
do the things that are necessary to love our partner the way that they need to be loved, and do not create a habit of not doing them just because I don't feel like it.
And
Because
you're saying it because it opens it up for
it
them to
opens
go
it up.
find whatever they need from someone else.
Well, I think that plays a part to it, but I think even before we get to that, oh, somebody else level, I think
Morgan.
it creates discontent. It creates a divide.
Yeah.
Like, yo, if I
In the
want, go ahead. I'm
I was
sorry.
gonna say, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but like in the book, the five love languages, like he talks about a love bank,
We need to talk about that too.
and a lot of times it's like withdrawal, withdrawal, withdrawal,
Right,
withdrawal. So for a woman, if I feel like my love account is overdrawn, I don't have anything to give you right now because
right,
I'm constantly giving, 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 but you haven't made any deposits lately. So it's going to be difficult for me to be enthusiastic about wanting to
absolutely.
engage physically when, for the woman, I'm like, I'm empty. I don't have that. And this is why a lot of people, and it's not even all, a major part of it is the love language, but it also has to do with personality types. You know what I mean? Like it really involves the communication and understanding the person that you're with.
Right.
Men generally, by nature, tend to be more physical. That's
Okay.
just nature. That is how they were designed. Women are different. We're designed different. It's not like an automatic, oh, I'm ready kind of thing. You know what I mean? So for a woman, it's important to know, like Barry said, if you know she's not going to be able to focus, if the house needs to be straightened up before you get there, because you already
Right.
know what's on your mind. You know what I
Right.
mean? That quality time is a major thing. My primary love language is quality time. So for
Right.
me, if I'm like, hey, let's go for a walk, and he was like, no, I don't want to go for a walk, or I don't want to do this. I just want to, and I'm like, but let's go for the walk first. Let's talk. Let's
Exactly.
unwind. Let's have some either dialogue or even just let's just sit in each other's presence for a while before we just go straight in.
Right.
That you got to really understand who your partner is.
Right. That's good. That's really good, man. I mean, having all those different meeting those love languages, because like you said, Erica, when her love bank is overdrawn, in some cases, men or women are deliberately not making those deposits. You know what I mean? So that goes
Oh yeah,
that answers your question, Keidra. Whereas, like, I'm not going to do because I don't feel like it, or I'm being
right,
immature about some things. So she doesn't have anything, or he doesn't have anything to pull from, or to, nothing to withdraw because you haven't made those deposits because you've been a butthole, or you all in
right,
your feelings. I'm not
right.
going to do because you didn't do. Now, again,
Exactly. It becomes
if
a bad cycle.
oh my God, yeah, that tit for tat,
A
and you
bad
didn't do,
cycle.
and yeah, that's a slippery slope for we either going to be in a very unhealthy and unhappy marriage, or we're going to be divorced pretty soon.
And even with the love language physical touch, that does not mean sex
Yes.
all the time. It
Right,
Yeah.
means hold my hand. It
right,
means rub my hair. You know what I mean? It can mean a lot of different things. The physical touch aspect is not always we have to be intimate as in
right,
sexual activity, but we need to be intimate as in allow our bodies to connect for a while.
right.
Allow me to feel your warmth for a little while, and then it could lead to sex.
When you
But
said,
physical that physical part is not always sex.
Erica, when you had said just the simple fact that men and women are different, like I've had to learn that being married over the 20 years. It may sound, kind of naive, but I really had to understand, like, yo, we are built different. Like, so we could be at work, and I'm like, I know I want to be with my wife later on the day. Like, I know that right now. I,
Right,
but what I've learned is, like, we don't get to the same point the same way.
right.
So, so I've learned over the years, you're gonna have to send some text messages, do some flirting. Hey, I'm checking
There
on
you
you.
go.
Like you got to do some. You
You
got
gotta build
to
it
right. You got to build that thing up. So when we get together later, she's in that space. So whereas like
up. Right.
we would show up at that space together and had not done the work. And I'm like, hey, let's go. And she's like, well, hey, buddy, give me a second. Like I'm not feeling all that because I've had a chance to think about it all day. She like, no, I.
Right.
She's like, I didn't think about that today. That's not what I was thinking about. I'm like, oh, okay. So no, you learn that kind of stuff.
Send a couple of love songs,
Right. So
you got to warm her up, Barry.
absolutely.
I missed what you said because I was dealing with this thing over here. You got to just beg.
You got the jet. You get the gist of it. You got to warm up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no. So the answer is yes.
Yes. All right. Well, we're having sex with our husbands even when we don't feel like it.
Can you not present it like that?
Right.
I mean, but sometimes you might not feel like it.
Can you say, hey, we are meeting the needs of our significant other, of our spouse, even when we don't feel like, or something. You just like, yeah, you're gonna give it up when you don't feel like it.
Okay. We are meeting the needs of our spouse, even in times where we may not feel like it.
Right. Like Erica said, we're making deposits.
We're making deposits even when we don't feel like going to the bank.
Right. Thank you.
When we don't feel like leaving the house, driving.
Nobody need all that extra stuff.
It's really about nurturing a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
I think when you say when she doesn't want to, there are other things. Like it may be that she doesn't want to right now.
Right.
But she does have the room to say, hey, let me go freshen up.
Right.
Or hey, maybe in the morning, or maybe she just doesn't feel good, or maybe she is sick. But again, communicate that. Like, I can't right now, and give a reason why it's not gonna work right now. As opposed to
I agree with that.
Deny.
And
roll over and go to sleep.
Right. I've actually seen where again, the nurturing piece, that's really good, Erica, because having an apology, like say you had some type of discourse or disagreement, a lot of times you'll see men or us trying to rectify a situation through sex. You're like, yo, okay, we're good now. I know we argue. I know I was out of pocket. I know I was rude or mean. But this is me apologizing. And women like, no, brother, you need to apologize.
Right.
Like you need to resolve and rectify that situation without just saying, okay, let's be together. So yeah, man, I've had to learn all this stuff. People like, hey, we good now, right? We're like, no, we're not good. And you're trying to get close to somebody.
Yeah.
If you're
go ahead.
No, I was just reading Tony's statement or post.
If you're being treated well, it won't feel like an obligation, and you should feel comfortable expressing why you're not in that space. That's true. I agree.
Amen.
I agree. All right. So we talked about wives feeling obligated to meet the needs of their spouse. But should a woman who is not married treat her man like he is her husband? Should a woman who is
Erica, like,
let's start with this. Hey, don't growl at me, boy.
Erica already like, no.
Let's know what we're talking about. Should a woman who is dating a man feel obligated to meet the exclusively in a relationship with somebody? Should she feel obligated to meet the needs of her partner?
All right, go ahead, Eric. I know you're ready.
No. Because at that point, that commitment of marriage has not been made. So I say no. You have your own space. Even if it's a couple that's living together, you're still an individual. You're not a part of a marriage, and you have every right to say no to whatever you don't want to do. You have an open door to leave at any point.
Right. That's good. I mean that's pretty much it. You, Keidra, I want to know what you gotta say. Like you got us to talk, and you talk. Tell us, you treating these dudes like your husband?
Hell no. But let's define though. Let's back up because
Okay.
some women may say, what if look at this right here. Okay? Do not jump up on my couch. Get down. Get down. Get down. Go find your bone. Thank you. Okay. It's just like having a child, okay? Um, but let's back up because some women I know I have asked before, what is treating your man, your boyfriend, somebody you're dating, in a committed relationship with, what is treating them as your husband and what is not treating them as your husband? So, what benefits should a non-husband, but I'm committed to you get and should not get?
So you asking that question?
Yes,
That's your
I'm posing the
you
I'm
posing
posing
the
the question to the conversation.
question. I don't. I know for me, it's. I would hate to sound hypocritical, but I believe it has a lot to do with your or our belief system. So if you're an individual who believes like, hey, these are the things that my husband is entitled to, like Erica said, that he needs to be my husband, i.e., whether it be sex, because I know a lot of us we kind of vacillate. We be like, yo, we can have sex. It's got much more free, much more. It's much more liberty now. People aren't as stringent or rigid to that type of stuff, or whereas they're like, hey, I'm going to wait till I, get married to have sex. But again, to some people, depending on their belief system, they're like, look, that is a benefit of my husband. He can get
Right.
me like that when he becomes my husband. Me being the woman posturing herself as like, hey, I'm really going to submit myself to you because you're my husband. I'm gonna look to you for leadership and guidance because you're my husband. If we're dating and you again you're just dating, you're like, well, I've given up my body. I'm kind of fumbling around it, but I just believe. Go ahead. You about to say something?
Yeah, let's put a pin right there for a second,
Okay.
right? Because this is a real thing. I've
It
heard
is.
people say that they don't the reason why they don't want to wait to have sex until marriage is because what if you get married to them and the sex is not pleasing,
Gotcha.
you know?
Again, that's an open line of communication to where y'all got to talk about what it takes to please me and what I got to do to please you, and you work
Right.
that thing out.
That's only part of it though. That's only part
Okay.
of it.
It's only part of it.
Okay.
Okay, we all grown here.
Yeah.
Okay. We ain't
Okay.
gonna be around the bush. That's only part of it. Because what if you get with a husband that is just not his package is not satisfying.
Right.
And that
So.
has nothing to do with what pleases me, what is the
Right.
package that he comes in just
Right.
don't satisfy you, you know? Should we
Does it not satisfy you because?
and I know Christian values say wait until you're married to have sex, right? But is that all the way totally realistic?
I think in some cases, I mean, not that Melissa and I approach it like that, but I just think at some point we have to lift the standards up, man. Like, so my sister has this thing where, like, with my kids, they like, well, whether they're gonna get a tattoo, get an earring, or and she's like, well, let them be grown when they get that stuff. We teach kids, and now
You
14
said
year old,
let them be grown when they get that stuff.
Grown.
let them be an adult. Like, so my sister has this thing. She'll say, well, what are they gonna look forward to if you're doing everything as a kid?
That's what my parents used to say too when I
Like
was a
you
kid.
got tattoos, you got earrings, you smoke, you cuss.
My son waited when they had to. I told him, I said, I don't mind you getting tattoos and stuff, but you're gonna have to wait till you don't need my permission anymore.
Exactly.
So, and that's what they did.
So my point being is like her statement is like, what are you going to look forward to? So if you're giving all of the benefits to a dude and he hasn't committed to marrying you, like what is he looking forward to? Like why should I marry you if I have all the benefits now?
Right.
So and then when you talk about the whole package piece, my question is, well, does that imply that she's, I'm almost making an assumption that, well, she's already had relationships, because part of me is like, well, do you think that way if you've never been with anybody? And I'm being sincere about my question. Like, all right, do you know, like, oh, that's too small or that's not good when you haven't been with somebody? I'm being legit in my question. Like, so, because of course, like, if you've been with people and you get married, like, well, I have so much to compare it to. I have so much to compare it to. So, and then my other thoughts are this, like, well, and I'll shut up. Is that, I know sex is a huge part of marriage, so don't hear me say otherwise. But I'm saying, is that the most important thing? So when we're,
I would say it's the most important thing, but like you said, it is a huge part, though.
But I think we have to, when we're making these decisions and we're having this conversation, we have to filter it through the conversation through what's the most important part. Like, all right, what type of dude is he? Like, do we have that kind of conversation? Is he a person of integrity? But go ahead.
No. So, in your opinion, what are some of the things that a woman who is dating and not married, what are some of the things that she should hold back from if that's not her husband? Like, because I think like the line can be like really, it's a very thin line. So do I not cook for you because you're not my husband? Do we not go out of town together because you're not my husband? Do I not, like, what, do I not support you emotionally because you're not my husband? Like, where is that line drawn? Or does it just come down to, I can't have sex with you because you're my husband? You could reap all these other benefits of me being your committed partner right now,
Right.
but except for having sex.
I don't know.
So where do you guys think that line is drawn? Because sometimes I ain't gonna lie, it get blurry for me sometimes. You know what
Said
I'm
it get
saying?
blurry.
It get blurry for me.
You gotta wipe your glasses off. You like, let me stop.
Right. Looking like
Be like, it's getting blurry, baby.
the
What do you
line
think?
is a little blurry for me.
What do you think, Erica?
So for me, I think like I think that it takes a lot of communication.
Okay.
Which is focused on what do I bring to the table? What do you bring to the table? Do those things even go together? And if I have to make more adjustments than you're making to make the relationship work, then we're not headed toward marriage, because the relationship will never be even. So it's a matter of, it's like, okay, what assets do I have? What strengths do I have? What strengths does he bring to the table? If I'm giving more than he is giving me, and I'm, as far as like figuring out the compatibility component, if I feel like I have to be your girlfriend includes me having to give you advice about money, or me having to help you with your kids if you have kids. That's probably, that may be more than I want to bargain for, and that's the part you got to figure out. It's really like a case by case thing. So like you are a chef, so I wouldn't say if you cook for him that would be a bad thing, because that's just what you do. That's one of your strengths. But
and I've had to explain that to somebody before too. Like, it's just what I do. What was that last part?
I said, if he's just showing up at your house every day expecting food, that may become an issue, and you're gonna get tired of it eventually.
Yeah.
That would be my thought.
Well, let me. I'm gonna do a berry.
You gonna do a what?
I'm gonna do a berry right quick, right? And I'm gonna ask the question. So, if two people are dating, and the female, let's say for whatever, her car broke down, right? And she needs help with getting it fixed. Is that, and her man can help her? He has the means to help her. Is that a wife benefit? or is that something that a girlfriend can benefit from?
I would call that a man who
You breaking up some, Erica.
a
Say
man
that. I can't hear you much. Say that again.
She said a man having the means to do it.
who has the capability of meeting that need.
Yeah.
No, I'm with
I
you.
wouldn't necessarily say that was like a wife benefit.
I agree with Erica. I would look at it as something to that particular scenario as indicators of what type of husband he would be or what type of wife she would be. So I think that's more of like if we're in a relationship, I'm letting you know I care about you. So I'm not going to leave you stranded out on the side of the road and your car is broken down. If I have means to help you get it done, so now here's the difference. Like, well, if we're dating, and I guess it depends on what level of dating. Like maybe if I paid for it, maybe I'm expecting my money back. You know what I'm saying? Whereas if we're married, that's just money coming out of our household to get that done. Um, if we're dating, I don't think I'm taking on your debt and that kind of stuff. Like, well, no, that's your debt. Those are your credit cards. Uh, I'm not taking that on.
Putting a car in somebody's name is a spouse benefit.
Yeah, I would say so. That's huge. Those are
Yeah.
real large commitments. But you do have to do things in the courtship that demonstrate like who you are as an individual. Like, so and if you're gonna be selfish in the courtship, there's a good chance you're gonna be selfish when we get married. So again, I couldn't see having the means or the capability and the ability to do something and not doing it.
Right.
But again, there's boundaries to that. Like how much is this gonna put me out? Like so if we're dating, I'm like, I don't know if I'm giving you my last to fix your transmission. I'm like, I come help you tow your car off the side of the road. Like, hey, babe, we may need to talk to your dad to get this. I'm not your husband. But again, I guess it depends on how long y'all been dating, and this is tricky. There's a lot to this.
Yes, it's not. I said it's a thin line. It's a thin line because it goes back to what you said, kind of showing what kind of husband or wife you would be. If you two were to get married. So
Well, here's another thought. Like, see if this makes sense. Like, maybe you should demonstrate your love for an individual to the boundary where it doesn't compromise your beliefs. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, do what you can do or you're willing to do without compromising your beliefs or your health.
Good. That's good. Yeah.
So, like, well, what are you going to do? What are you not going to do? Like, if I feel like this is really going to compromise what my integrity, my beliefs, Tony says financial obligations and sex are marriage benefits. Absolutely. Think about what is distributed, discussed, divorce, assets, property, and children. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, man. So, and here's my thing: like, if you don't give anything away that if you guys aren't together, you're gonna feel bad about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it puts you in a worse place. I mean, to have to break up or not be together is has its own hardship. But if you leave a relationship and feel like you lost yourself and you've been damaged and you gave away so much without getting anything in return, I think that's unhealthy. Like you went too far.
Yeah.
You went entirely too far.
I think you used a word that was very key, and that was boundaries, right? And I think that some people go into a relationship without having those boundaries,
Right.
And so like you often say, every situation is not the same, yada yada yada. So if you go into a situation or a relationship knowing, having an idea, these are my boundaries.
Yep.
then you can say, okay, these are the boundaries for dating, and then they can expand after marriage.
Right.
But because it is a thin line, but if you set your own boundaries and stick to those boundaries and say, because I know, well, never mind, I'm not gonna say that. If you have your own boundaries and you stick to those boundaries, then you can kind of decide what's for your man and what's for your husband.
Right.
And just the key word though is boundaries, and the key concept is sticking to the boundaries
Right.
and not divvying from the boundaries. Whether you're 2 months in or 2 years in, you know what I'm saying? Still having those boundaries. Oh, that's good for me too. That's preaching to me. Just come up with your own boundaries, and sticking to those. You know how the preacher be like, oh, I'm preaching to myself right now. Like I'm preaching to myself, just sticking to them boundaries.
Right.
And sometimes we fall so deep in love that we just let all them boundaries just go and loose and everything. You know what I'm saying? So, if you out here loosey-goosey, with the boundaries,
Right.
So just I preach to myself. So
Okay. All right, Pastor.
just sticking to I was a pastor at one time. Just sticking to having those boundaries and sticking to your boundaries. And I think that differentiates treating your man or your girl or your woman as that, and then as your wife. And I mean, even for a guy, it even gives your wife, the girl, the woman, something to look forward to as your wife. I got bumped up the wife status. You know what I'm saying? Like even gives the woman, it even gives the woman something to look forward to as being the wife.
Right.
And not just because I think a lot of women just get hung up on the wife title. You know what I'm saying? I'm the wife. You know what I'm saying? And not taking into account all that comes with that as well.
Absolutely. Wow, that's good. That's good.
All right, this was some rich conversation. I think we covered a lot. We covered a lot of stuff tonight.
We did.
We covered emotional intelligence. We covered sexual needs of your partner, and we covered relationship. And if you don't quit growling at me, boy, we covered relationship and marriage boundaries. So we covered a lot tonight. That was a rich conversation.
I think so. I would say so.
Huh?
No, I was agreeing with you. I think we covered a lot. It was good.
It was good. Okay, cool. So, if you are not on our Facebook group, What's Love, then join us at What's Love in Facebook. All right, it's our group on Facebook. The first topic that we kind of discussed with the emotional intelligence, I actually pulled that from the group because it was a post I had posted either today or yesterday, I can't remember. So, we have it's a lot of discussion going on in there, and it's very good conversation too that goes on in the Facebook group. So make sure you join us on Facebook, What's Love. And then if you want to hear the audio version, you can catch the What's Love, you can catch this video replay on YouTube, all right? Again, it's What's Love Podcast, it's our YouTube channel. And then you can also catch the audio version on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google. Those are the main platforms. And then we're also on other all podcasting platforms. But other ones I'm not so sure what their names are. You get automatically put on there. And then we are starting the What's Love games, which I'm so excited about. All right. The Shoot a Shot is our first dating game, and we actually have our first contestant. Her name is Tony, and she is actually Erica's sister. All right. So if you would like to shoot your shot with Erica, not Erica.
Oh shit.
Yeah, look at the universe.
She said, mm-mm.
With Erica. Universe telling you something, Erica. If you would like to shoot your shot with Tony, then please follow the link below. And what we ask you to do is we ask you to ask the questionnaire, fill out the questionnaire, and then submit your picture to What's Love podcast. We take 3 contestants, and then you will get a chance to shoot your shot. You can go to our What's Love podcast Facebook group, and you can see a picture of Tony, and you can see a little bit about what she's about. And then you can also catch our replay from last week on YouTube, and you can get a chance to hear us ask Tony some questions. If you are married, you can still get in on the games. You do not have to, it does not have to be a dating game, but if you're married, you can still get in on the game. And our game is how well do you know your spouse? And our first married couple is gonna be, I'm trying to get it to be Barry and Melissa. All right, so everybody can meet the infamous Melissa
Right.
that we talk about. So I'm trying to get Barry and Melissa to be our first contestant on how well do you know your spouse? Okay. All right. Well, before we end, we need one word. One word to describe one word that describes. I have it in my head. I'm trying to figure out how to word it.
You have it in your head. Okay.
One word that describes how you should meet the needs of your spouse.
Meet the needs of your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Consideration. That's my word.
Okay. I already know what yours gonna be, Erica.
What?
Go ahead.
Erica said,
What
what?
do you think I'm gonna say?
I know what you're gonna say. Go ahead.
What am I gonna say?
I'm not gonna say it for you. Go ahead.
And you got to be honest. If she says it, you got to be honest.
I don't lie. I'm gonna be honest. If she don't say it, I'm gonna say it.
Intentional.
Okay, that wasn't what I thought you were saying.
What were you thinking?
Communication.
What is it? Communication?
Communication. That's what I thought Erica was gonna say. Communication. And Tony said humility. That's one of our viewers said humility. Ways to meet the needs of your spouse. All right. We thank you so much for spending your Tuesday evening. Paula said spontaneity. That's good. You know, I always like a little bit of spontaneity. That's always fun.
Oh, no doubt.
You know, take me on a little spontaneous date. When I get home, well, look, we're not about to get into all this again.
Right. Save that for next time.
Okay. We thank you for spending your Tuesday, just an hour of your Tuesday evening with us. As always, we enjoy coming together and talking. And we actually, when all 3 of us get together, we actually had to pull ourselves away from each other to stop talking.
Right.
So we enjoy you coming and joining in on the conversation with us. Okay.
Thank you guys.
If you want to get in on the either the dating game or the marriage game, then follow that link below that you see at the bottom on the banner. And next time, invite a friend. Okay, invite a friend into here. Share this. I'm going to tell you at the beginning to click like and share it. But it's never too late. This will still be on the page, so you can still share it as well. Okay. I think that's it, guys.
Thank you, guys.
All righty. Thank everybody for joining us. Have a good evening. Stay safe. Bye.
Bye.